As we continue looking at story, what are the roles that you're playing in your life's story? Whether it's kind of down at the bottom where you get tragedies and horrors and dramas and all of that, or you're up at the top where you're really soaring, and it's just it's the joy and the fulfillment and the success type story of achieving, accomplishing goals done and beyond. But in those different dramas, in those different genres of the story, you play a particular role. And it's the role that you're playing that is really your superpower. And I want to take a quick view. This is not all of the possible roles, but it's some of them. And hopefully you'll see yourself in this. And you might find you recognize some other people. You say, I know that person. I'm married to that person, or that used to be my ex whatever person. And maybe this will lend a little understanding and insight into why and what's going on and what's happened, and maybe some help for you to kind of think through who am I being, and how do I really want to be in life? How do I really want to show up in life? Because most of these roles that we play they're so unconscious now. They're part of that narrative, they're part of that script that's running in the background, but we don't pay attention to it anymore because it's like that's who I am. Doesn't have to be. We can step out of that role. It's just a play. You can step out of the role anytime and into something different. So let's just identify a few of them that we know, and maybe we can get some distance on. For example, the hero, the heroine. When I grew up, it was a cartoon with a little mouse in it. It was Mighty Mouse. It's like, here he comes to save the day. It was one of these great hero stories where he goes in and he finds the victim and he saves the victim, saves the day. Nothing wrong with that. We all need heroes in our lives. We need people to kind of step into those moments for others. But the hero's always looking for the victim and needs a victim, needs a problem, needs the struggle in life to feel fulfilled, to feel purpose, to feel a sense of accomplishment. And when that's not available, guess what happens? They tend to create the problem. They tend to make problems out of little tiny molehills, maybe the molehills that just don't really exist. That if they had thought about it, simple solution. But because the role is so important to them, they're stuck in that role. So, corresponding role, victim. Victims are not looking for heroes and heroines to save them. They're not looking for the savior. In fact, they can't be a victim if they get saved. Victimhood and being that is part of that role, and to be rescued from it or delivered from it means that they're without the role. So where do these two come from? What happens? Well, I think for the hero, it's in childhood. It's a sense of, how can I feel fulfilled? How do I get a sense of fulfillment? And they get praised, maybe over and over again, for the good job that they've done, the solutions that they found, and so then that becomes the mark of their life. That this is what I need to do. This is my sense of purpose and my sense of being fulfilled in life. For the victim, it's more that they've been blamed for things, oftentimes things they didn't do. But in the child mind, you can't understand, why are you treating me this way? Why am I experiencing this from you? And then there's the real victims of childhood and childhood trauma, which we've talked about before in some other videos, where you're innocent. It's not that you caused it. but you don't need to continue that role in adulthood. It's something that you've experienced, you've lived through. Yes, you need to resolve the issues. I'm not saying overlook it. No, deal with it. But there's life after experiencing being a victim. Another role that we could play, giver. You know, we again, childhood, better to give than to receive. Lessons from all kinds of places. And then the person who continues to give and continues to give and continues to give. And even in coaching, sometimes you talk about you have to give to get. You know, help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want. Well, sometimes, but sometimes the giver is so stuck in that role that they miss the opportunities for getting and for receiving because they're not, it's not good to receive. It's good to give, not good to receive. It's giving is better than receiving, right? Giving and getting. And we get confused in the role and how to live it, how to play it in life. So it's important to kind of identify those things and where are some of the places in our life we can change. And the opposite, of course, of the giver is the getter. Those people who just seem to receive everything. It's just like it falls in their lap. They're just extremely lucky. I'm going to talk a little bit later about another role that I think is part of that and why that is for some people. But sometimes people who for everything comes easy to them. You know, the A's in school and the letters, the athletic letters in sports, and they're just outstanding in everything all the way around. Don't understand the struggle for people who don't do that naturally. And sometimes they can help, sometimes not, because they don't understand what it is about them. They're just getters. They just get it. They gain things. Things work for them. Different from another role that some people assume and play in life is the underdog. Now, there's tons of movies and stories about the underdog. We like that when somebody comes in and is disadvantaged and struggles and makes that journey, and then they find success. The problem with the role is that if that's what you're playing in your life, you can't ever get to the end. You can't have the success. You can't have that last chapter can't be written because that role ends with that. And so now we're stuck in a role of always being the underdog. Can't get out of it. Whereas the other side of that, the top dog, the lead dog, the overlord, if you will, in the play, in the story of life, is often a peculiar combination of things that as long as they're in charge, everything's good. But if they're not getting their way, they get angry, they get frustrated, they have little temper tantrums. You do it my way or hop on the highway. And of course, that gets formed in childhood as well. It's parents coddle them. They don't have to struggle for anything. Or they have parents who are in that same kind of top dog way of going through life and demanding that everybody kowtows to them. And the kid just picks that up and repeats that in their own life. Not a good role model, but a role that many people take and assume in their life. And then, of course, there's the teacher, and sometimes the guru gets attached to that. Not the teacher, not the educator, not somebody who's teaching you something that you need to know or need to learn, but the person who's teaching you whether you like it or not. They're going to show you how to, or what the best way is of doing whatever it is, because their way is the best way. Or the guru who's more interested in attention than really in blessing other people. It's not like a blessing relationship. It's more the I need you, I need your attention, I need you to be with me. It's more ego driven than kind of connected to the divine. And then, of course, teachers in that mode and gurus in that mode need followers. And they're the folks who struggle with decision making. They need someone to tell them what to do and how to do it. And there's lots of followers out there. And then as they become adults, it's like, maybe I want to figure out how to do this for myself. Maybe I'd like some freedom from that role, but not sure how to get it. How do I step out of that? Where can I go from there? There's no particular order to these. I just wrote down some of the particular roles that a lot of people get caught up in, and then go seek therapy. How do they get out of it? And like I said, I've shifted some of the therapeutic work that I do to more of the storytelling, story narrative, and we shift the roles that are in there. It's not that you're broken or that you need to analyze everything. It's what's the role? What effect does it have on your life? How do you shift it? How do you move out of that? Another role, the celebrity, people who do amazing things, and they become well known, versus the celebrities that are out there now on all the social media. Again, ego driven. What's the difference? Clint Eastwood comes to mind. I just read a little story about him. He's in his 90s. He has some health issues. He's made millions of dollars in all of his different movies. But his attitude toward his money is, it's not really mine. It belongs to the people who let me do what I love doing. I love making movies. So I still live on the same little farm that I had, as I grew up on. The same little truck. Well, I think it's a Ford F-150 or something he's had for forever. And with his wealth, he's decided, I'm going to distribute it among a group of people. He said, I have my own criteria for it. They're strangers to me. I don't know them. And I'm going to just give it away. And the reason why is because it's really their money. They gave it to me. Doing what I love to do, making movies. And so now I get to give it back at the end. And he's talking about it. And it was interesting to hear and see how he views himself and how he views his life in the world. I'd say, yeah, now there is a celebrity. Completely opposite of that is the ghosts, the person who is unseen, unheard. They're kind of invisible. And that's a role that often gets developed in childhood, sometimes through safety, because they're constantly criticized and ridiculed. And so they just become invisible. They make themselves invisible. Or they become a rule follower, and then they watch their siblings kind of get away with stuff. And we'll talk about that can also become a enforcer. We'll talk about that. I'll talk about that role next. But the ghost is they just kind of disappear. They're there, but they're not really there. And a subcategory of that are the outsiders, people who play the role of being an outsider. They want to be part of the group. Sometimes they try to get into the group. Sometimes the group's willing to accept them, but are waiting for the outsider to make a contribution. Participate in the group, engage in the group. We're happy to welcome you and become part of us, right? And then there's other groups where no matter what you do and how you try to break in, you'll always be an outsider. You'll be marginalized. You may be tolerated, but not welcomed. And again, it's a role that we play in our lives. Don't be blaming everybody else and say that's the way life is. That's the way you're experiencing life. It is not the way life is. You may not break into that particular group of people, but when you see them from a more objective point of view, you may realize, I don't want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of people who are open-hearted, open-minded. Our mind, when we open up and it's growth-oriented, it's like a parachute. It actually works. When it's, or an umbrella, right? Open minds are like umbrellas. We need to open them to have them work. So it may be that you feel like an outsider. You don't need to be an outsider. What's another group? Oh, the enforcer. Similar to the ghost, it probably had a stern childhood. These are the rules. This is right. This is wrong. This is good. This is bad. And then grows up and just enforces that on everybody else. this is the way to do it. This is the right way. I remember during our vacation one time out on a Cape, on Cape Cod, there's these beautiful dunes and signs everywhere. Don't get on the dune. Don't climb on it. Don't walk on it. Don't. And I don't know, I became daddy dune protector because I would get up, the kids would be playing on it, and I'd chase them off. Not just mine, but everybody. I became like the enforcer on the beach of the dunes. Oh my goodness gracious, where did that come from? Experienced it once. I still remember it. It is a role that I have no desire of being a part of at all. But how does it happen? There, because we know the enforcers, right? Sometimes they have had drummed into them right, wrong, good, bad, and then they watch their siblings get away with it. It's like, what's that about? Man, that's not going to happen on my watch. And they just assume that authority figure that they experienced in childhood, it could be in the school system, right? It could be whoever was teaching in the classroom. So strong authority figure. They just absorbed that. Sometimes in those experiences, they get the wires crossed between love and judgment, that this person loves me and I'm feeling the sternness and the direction, the directness of the judgment, and then assume that that's love. And then as an adult, they become judgmental, assuming that they're actually showing love. So there's lots of ways in which we need to pay attention to these roles and really understand, how do they work from childhood to adulthood? How did they get formed, and how did I just absorb them, and it now becomes an unconscious way of being in the world? Probably for law enforcement, you may have some success. And then there's that little thin line of category where I'd say the conquerors of the world are the enforcers, but they've gotten other people to follow them. So maybe they create a movement, or they create a war. But I'd say overall, not the best choice of a role for your adult movie. The world that movie, your movie as an adult, not an adult movie. Your movie as an adult now in life, or the stage play. And since you're also the screenwriter, you're also the writing the script, you can change it anytime you choose. How about the rebel, the disruptor? Somebody who, again, probably in that same child experience of having authority figures impress upon them right, wrong, good, bad, but just rebelled against it. Now just ignores authority, ignores everything, and kind of finding their own way. Sometimes it may be really good, like, let's take all the poisons out of our food. Pretty good. I think that's, yeah. Why do we still allow the food industry to put chemicals and dyes into our food that can kill us or cause cancer? Like, we all should be disruptors and rebels on that one. Vaccines? Maybe we want to rethink that a little bit. I grew up at a time when we did not have a vaccine for polio. And I can remember as a little kid when it came, so grateful, so thankful. Because I would wake up at night with just growing pains and would cry, I think I've got polio. So when I could take the vaccine and knew was not going to happen to me, I was not going to be like some of the kids that I saw walking around with big leg braces because of the polio, that I got saved from that. Different feeling about it. Here's another role, the loner, a person who chooses to be by themselves because they're seeking their freedom, their independence. Okay, can't you be a loner in the community? Can't you have that in the context of community? Now, as human beings, we're curious creatures, that there is a lone factor to us. We're not usually born in litters. We're born one at a time. And for the most part, when we leave planet Earth, we leave one at a time. So there is a aloneness about us. But we also have a herd instinct. We have an instinct for being together. Um, if it's wanting to be a loner because you don't want to answer to anybody, because you don't want anybody to be the boss of you, again, it's a role, and it's probably worth exploring a little bit about whether that's truly getting you what you want out of life, or if there's a higher vibration that you can be at, where you can have your independence and have your freedom and be social as well. Problem solver, great role. You want that person on your team, right? At work, you want that person who can come in, cut through all of the stuff, and see the solution. The problem with that role, if that's what you are, if you're a problem solver, what do you do when you've solved all the problems? That role vanishes. But if it's attached to yourself, if that's part of your identity, if that's who you are, then you don't exist anymore. Or the reason for your existing, your life's purpose, vanishes. And so oftentimes the problem solvers are the ones who are creating the little problems in life and struggling with them and going on and on and on. So where do we kind of want to get? I think the person who just enjoys life, for whom every day is a brand new day and has a sense of purpose and direction, and for whom life seems to be cooperating and working, and they're able to think of something, impress upon life itself, and have it form and become. Uh, they make things happen. They seem to manifest stuff. They just enjoy life. From the outside, they look like they're really lucky. When you go in and talk to them and say, "Well, no, there's a method, there's a process. It's possible that anybody can do this." And in some of our programs, we talk about it in our individual one-on-one sort of VIP coaching. Go right to that. Get right there. Get those things done. Make that stuff happen. And then I'm struggling for a word to describe it. Somebody suggested prophet, but the person who can kind of speak, understands the power of our words to create things, to speak it to speak it into existence, uh, to engage in the creative process of life, and really get the things out of life that they want for themselves. What a great role to play. What a marvelous way to go into life, to have this fantastic game. What can I create? What can I do? What can I make happen? How do I make the world a better place? How do I make my life a better life? So keep coming. Those are just some of the roles. I hope that helps you start to think about what are the roles that you're playing unconsciously in your life, and what are some of the ways that we can get some freedom to step away and step out of that. So keep coming. Like the videos, share them, sign up, join, become part of the community. And I look forward to seeing you in the next part of this series. We're going to talk about the purposes and the designing and the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. And then what do you do with other people who walk on the stage of your life and play either very full roles in your story, or maybe you just have a walk-on part, and yet it's significant because it's life-changing for you. The direction, the purpose, everything about your life shifts and changes because of their presence in your life. So keep coming, make comments. You don't like this, challenge it. Actually, if you don't like it, it's probably not the channel for you. So here we go. Think about the role you're playing as a disruptor. Really? Anyway, uh, my love from my heart out to all of you. Blessings on you as you make your journey in life. Don't do it unconsciously. Don't do it out of habit. Be intentional, be purposeful, that you can enjoy a meaningful, beautiful, happy, delightful life. Wishing you all the best. Namaste.